Hey everyone, Briar here with Key Aviation, and today we've got for you an entire demo of a P150 Max so you can use it to its fullest potential. We'll go through everything you need to know about the controller, the RTK, and flight of the drone.
Go.
Alright, the first thing we'll get into here is all of the peripheral products we get with the P150 Max. So you'll get an RTK 7 as well as the controller. There's a few different ways we can communicate with the drone. We can either go from controller direct to the drone, just with radio signal, or we can go controller through a SIM card to the drone, or how I will be running it this year is through the RTK 7. This acts as a base station for RTK as well as a signal repeater. To get this turned on, we've got a red button right here. If you hold down on that for a few seconds, you'll hear a beep. And then this will take a few minutes to boot up. Once all the lights quit flashing, then we'll be ready to go. So as you can see here, our power light is now solid, and the light on the right here, which will show either in base station mode or in mobile mapping mode. I have it on S, which is base station mode. And then my locator light is red. Since I'm inside, it's not getting any signal. All right, getting started in our controller here. This is your home screen. When you first turn on your controller, this is what you should see. On the top right, we have a little farmer logo. That's where we'll run anything we need to know about the drone is up there. So we'll go to our device list, and then on the top right, we'll have that mesh connection center. So we'll open that up, and you can see each of your devices and what they're talking to. So right now, my drone is going through the RTK 7. We'll drag my controller in there, and then that chain will form. All right, now you can see that my drone and my controller are both linked to the RTK 7. Therefore, everything is going through that to communicate. Now we'll move on to some more settings. We'll go into the drone here, and here is where we will do all firmware updates. So I can open firmware update right now. It'll check for updates, and it says all latest firmwares are installed. And also go down into more. In case anything needs to be restarted, I can just restart my drone directly from my controller. I can also go into the About page. This will show the serial number of the drone as well as the remote ID. If you ever need to set the remote ID, just tap on Remote ID, enter your operator ID and your emergency status, and save. The next tab is our communication system. If you have a SIM card in the drone, it will show here how well it's communicating, or scroll down and that is the controller's network, how it's communicating with the drone. On the bottom is what is giving everything internet access. So right now, the central device network is giving everything internet. So if at the moment, I have my RTK 7, that could give internet to my controller and my drone. If you want it to go just through a SIM card in the drone, you can connect to the internet only via the drone's cellular network. We'll switch back to central device network. The next tab we have is our positioning system. Right now I have it set to GNSS, and that would be if I didn't have my RTK, but since I am using that, I'll go into there, tap on RTK positioning, and for positioning reference, you'll want to have selected your portable RTK station. Right now, it probably isn't going to get a fix because I am inside. Here you can also see how many antennas are connected on the left and right side of the drone, as well as its positioning accuracy. The next tab on the left is your battery system. You can see your remaining battery level, info about the battery, its cell voltages, temperatures. You can also scroll down to the bottom and see your return to home battery level and your full charge. I typically have mine set at 15% to return to home, just to give myself a little bit more of a buffer so the drone doesn't run too low on battery. And the charge mode of the batteries, we can set this to operation mode, so you can actually speed up the time it takes to charge because you're not going all the way to 100%. That last 10% on the battery takes very long to charge. or you can put it in the storage mode so it'll only charge up to 60%. Our next tab is our spraying system, or if you had the granular system attached, that's what it would show here. We can see the capacity, we can discharge remaining chemicals to clear out the tank, we can do a manual spraying test and set how fast we want our pumps to go, how fast our atomizers are spinning, and test each one individually. Under manual spraying test, you'll see calibrate. That is how you will calibrate either your spray system or your spreading system. We'll have a demo later of the spreading system, but for now we only have the spray tank. I usually have mine set to operation calibration. So if I'm running a thicker mix, it'll automatically adjust its calibration to get the right amount of chemical out. When you first get your drone, I'd highly recommend doing the regular calibration. It'll do one pump at a time, and you add 6 gallons of water into the drone. It'll automatically run through all that and calibrate itself, and then you add 6 more gallons, and then it will calibrate the other pump. Our next tab we have is the propulsion system. This will show in air what speed every motor is going, the current, the temperature, and the status of all of them. You can also do idle tests and a in-place takeoff test to do different kind of testing if you had to replace a motor or a bearing to make sure everything is good. Our next tab is the sense settings. So if it's in the air actively flying, you can see exactly what the radars are seeing. It'll show you an obstacle's this far away. And you can also turn on and off your safe landing and safe takeoff assists, so that'll see if there's someone around, and it will not land if it senses a person below it. And then further down here we have our FPV camera. We can do smart communication, so it'll bounce between the SIM card or just radio signals, or we can go over to local network only, therefore it will not use its SIM card. On the bottom here is the searchlight. We can turn on and off if you need to. That pretty much wraps up all of the P150 settings. Now we'll go into our RTK settings. On the top, you have your mode. You can either have it in base station mode or surveying mode. Next is the cellular network. In case you have a SIM card inside of it, you can see how good the quality is. And our networking, this will tell you what devices are connected to it. Below that, you have your channel settings. You can have it automatically switch between different channels, or you can set it manually in case something's not working as well. Typically 2.4 gigahertz works better than 5.8 gigahertz, so that's what I'm going to set mine to right now. Below that, we have the WLAN settings. We can take a Wi-Fi connection and give it to the RTK7, and that would give all other devices internet. So if you have Starlink on your trailer, you would set up the WLAN with your RTK, and that would give your controller and your drone both internet. On the bottom here is our firmware updates, which we shouldn't have any because I just did them. And that is everything with your RTK7. All right, now we'll get into mapping. We have quite a few different ways that we can put maps on this drone. We can either use KML files, so from your John Deere Ops Center or whatever you use for your tractors, we can upload those files directly to the drone. We can do an ortho map just with the drone itself, so it'll fly over, take a bunch of pictures and stitch them all together, or we can do it right on the controller here. So if we open mapping, the first setting it shows you is your field boundary. We'll zoom in up here, and we should be doing our demo flights up here. So I'll put down a few points, and you'll see auto close right on the bottom. So we have 19.4 acres there. So next, we have obstacles. If you have a tree, a large rock pile, or a windmill, we can map that out as an obstacle and hit auto close. There, with that, the drone will go right around that obstacle, will not fly through it. Now we have non-spraying zones. So if we have a waterway cut right through the middle of our field like this one, and we do not need to spray it, we will map that as a non-spraying zone. With a non-spraying zone, the drone will shut off its nozzles going over and turn them back on the other side. That's really all that most people will be using this with. So I'll hit save, name it as a test. You can also put labels or notes. You can add a photo in with this as well if you want to take a before and after picture for your records. and we'll go back to home. For making an ortho map or a 3D map with the drone, we can go into our operation tab on the bottom, and the three little dots on the right side will show us manual operation settings, A/B point operation, aerial survey, or remote controller instructions. So our manual operation settings, if you're just flying with the sticks trying to fly a fence line or something like that, we can turn these on, and all the different settings, pretty much all the same stuff that you have in the automatic flight, can be changed for manual flight. Next, we'll go into the aerial survey. So we can create a map for it to aerially survey. So we'll select Start Aerial Survey, New HD Map, and if we wanted it to map our field over here, so we can hit Start Aerial Survey. We'll do a new HD map and do just that field that we were going to do over here. Auto close and hit Next. Then it'll automatically generate its route. It'll set its parameters to whatever it thinks is best. You can have it higher or lower for higher or lower quality. And have terrain following on all of our regular settings. Or we could do just the boundary, so if you have trees along the outside of your field, you can have it just map the edge, so you'll have an updated and RTK accurate map to go off of for your mapping. You can see down here, I've already done one of these 3D maps. So I can tap on this and show it. We can see a 3D view. And it automatically will detect some of the obstacles in the field. But we can see this is a very high quality map. It loads in a little bit slow, but there's a lot of points for it to reference here. And then our 2D view here, we can see the difference of what satellite imagery shows us and then what the drone will actually show you, just all included with the drone. It also highlights a few of the obstacles, so it found a tree there and a few other little things down here. But I wouldn't fully trust that. I would still go and make sure I put all the obstacles in manually. After we're done mapping, we can go into operation, select our field that we want to fly, hit confirm, and there it's generated its route. You can see the dotted lines means it's not spraying, and it goes right around that obstacle. We'll go through some of the operation parameters that I would typically use. Usually we're at 2 gallons an acre. Our droplet size varies depending on what chemical we're using. We'll put it up about 300 for now. And we can have spray during lane changes. I usually have turn on both nozzles. And then our route, so this is how wide and how high we're going to spray. So we'll put it at 12 feet. And a flight speed of 44 miles an hour. Then we'll go down to our route direction and spacing. So right now it's set to optimal. It's going to go whatever it thinks is best. You can take the slider and drag it around, spray at a different angle if you want to, or you can double tap on any edge of the field and it will automatically snap to that edge. We'll just put it back to optimal. And our route spacing, we'll have it set about 28 feet just so we're having good overlap and not leaving any skips. Safety clearance tells you how far it's going to get, or how close it's going to get to your obstacles and how close it's going to get to the edge. So we can set this obstacles. If you have some trees or you're not super confident in your mapping, you might want to bump that up a little bit. You can see it move further away from that obstacle. And then our boundary safety clearance, I'll usually have that set around 10 to 15. And we can also do a special boundary safety clearance. So say the wind's coming out of the west here and we don't want to overspray to the east. We can do special clearance to boundary 4 on the east side. We can bump that up to 30 feet. Just stay a little bit further away from that edge, and that will give us a little more leeway there. Next is our access route. So you can see We're not going to be flying from the shop over here. But if we had to fly through some trees or around some power lines or something like that, we can edit our safety points and have it go whatever direction you want it to. So it will always fly through this route to come in and out of the field. You can also adjust where it starts in the field. So we can save that. Or you could put it into safety zone mode. So safety zone basically will tell it to go from wherever it's at directly back to you. So if you have a wide open field and always want it flying straight from where it stops right to you without going through any safety points, we can use safety zone. We can also adjust it. So if we have trees over here that we don't want it flying through, we can adjust that so it'll cut right around those and it will not go outside of this green area. We can hit save on that. On the bottom, we have our sensing settings. I usually have it set to all on unless I'm doing insecticide over someone's yard for mosquitoes. Then I'll have on access route only, so it gets up to its height and then it'll stay at 60 feet, whatever you have it set to. But we'll leave it all on for now. We can also turn off our obstacle avoidance or map-free 3D flight. That slows the drone way down and basically makes a 3D map as the drone flies. So it can go up and over any obstacle, any terrain, it'll climb right up it. And as it goes on, more passes through that field, it's getting smarter and remembering what it did last pass and accounting for that before it goes over its next pass. Now for our advanced settings. We can turn on an edge application. So it'll fly around all the borders of the field. You can have it just do a few of them or all of them. Usually good to do at the beginning of the field before the wind picks up so you can get all those edges done well. You can have it, you can change your route segmentation. So we will go 1 through 10. It'll only do half the field or the entire thing. We can set it after its operation to come back to the home point and hover. I have never touched that. I always have it in return to home after it's complete. So next one down here is our optimized route resumption. So with that turned on, if it ends spraying, say halfway up the field, it might skip to the next row and start there. But with that turned off, it's gonna go directly back to wherever it stopped, which you'll burn a lot more battery doing it that way. So I usually have it turned on. We can also have a few more settings of fly only, which is pretty much we just use it for demos if we don't have any water, or empty after the operation. It'll spray out whatever is left in it before it comes back to you. We also have climb to turn. This will usually make your swaths a little bit more even, so it's going to climb up and then drop back down as it's coming, kind of more like a plane flies. But I don't usually have that turned on. With an edge application, I typically get all of the headlands sprayed well. Drone landing orientation, it's set to optimal, so basically it's going to swing itself around in the air as it's coming back and land down. If you for some reason don't want it to do that and just fly straight into you and come down, you can have that turned to hold nose orientation. All right, now we're out in the field. We got our drone here. We get it unfolded. I want to make sure we get our arm clamps, nice click down, and then get our nozzles unfolded and slide it off, loosen up the screw, and it's got a little notch that it'll sit right in its place where it's supposed to go, and get that tightened down. Another really good benefit about the P150 Max is the batteries. They're only 15 pounds a piece, so you're not hauling one huge battery with you to the drone. So we'll take each battery, just drop it in. I usually like to press down on the top of it, make sure they're locked in. Hold down on the battery, all the lights will light up, and you should hear a beep. And now our drone's on. All right, so now that we're out at our field, we can see we've got a few trees in there, so we'll go into our map. Go right to where we're sitting. We'll start with a boundary. Put it right up to the edge of the road here. Then we'll go out and up the hill. Then we've got those 3 trees out there. We'll add those in as obstacles. We'll throw in a no spray zone just to show it working. Hit save. Then we'll go into operation on the bottom, and we'll select our field, hit confirm. We don't need to do an offset correction. We don't need to be that accurate. And then from here, we're ready to go. We've got all of our settings set. 12 feet high, 44 miles an hour, 28-foot route spacing. Our access route, we don't really need to be 20 feet high. We're not going over anything. So we'll set that the same as what we're doing in the field at 12 feet.
Are we gonna do this at 45?
All right, we've got a couple of hills in this field, so we're gonna turn down our speed to about 30. See how well our terrain following works. If it works well, we'll bump it up to 45, see it climb this hill itself. And access route mode, we'll just leave it in safety point. All of our terrain following is on, and we are ready to go. All right, we've got 14.5 gallons in our drone. Let's start operation down here. Check off that everything's safe. Slide to start. We can see our camera on the bottom here. I didn't put that. All right, she's ready to go now. On the first pass, you can see there, nozzle's cut off, going through the non-spray zone, turn back on the other side. Looks like it's climbing the hill very well at 30. I am very impressed with that terrain following. That's way better than our P150 was. And we've got a fixed gimbal on there, so we can rotate down. Help a little bit if I put my antennas up, so we'll get a little better communication with it. I can rotate my gimbal up and down, see exactly what the drone's seeing. It's showing us its home point on the screen right there. See, coming up to that obstacle of that tree there, goes right around it, right where I had it mapped. It's super smooth going up and down that hill. It's not chopping back and forth, it's just slowing itself down a little bit and climbing right up. Another thing I'm really impressed with XAG about is they've tuned these extremely well, so they're not chopping around, swinging around. They don't waste any movements. It's perfect, smooth turns right around. But I mean, it went right up that hill perfect. See, we got a dog chasing us around, but it should be all right. All right, drone's finishing up its task right now. We got 32% battery left. Coming in for the last pass, the longest one of it, I think, so far. Nope, it wasn't. I was wrong. Going around that obstacle. I had it a little bit too wide, but I wasn't taking my time too much mapping. Here it comes in, return to home. Swings itself around because that's the most efficient. It's going to even out where it wants to land.
gonna ask me to confirm. Now let's push down on the left stick. That was a shitty landing by me. That was me on the sticks. Whoops. All right, for this test, we're gonna bump up the gallons a little bit higher here to 3 gallons an acre. We're gonna try to fly it a little bit higher since we have a little bit more weight in there. We'll put it at 14 feet. And just put a pretty good test to the terrain following, even better than the last one with more weight in there. So we'll start operation and see what it does with 20.5 gallons in it. And if we need to, as the drone's flying, we can take our left stick, just push it up a little bit to help it along, but I don't think we'll need to do that for this field. Looks like it's still terrain following pretty well. That height increase probably helped it out a little bit. Just shot up that hill right there. I think we're good. We've got 96% of the field done, 6.6 acres, and it came back with 31% on the battery on the drone. And with the hills it was climbing and those short little rounds that it was doing, I don't think you can really ask for much better than that. That was very impressive.